Hello, and congratulations on adopting a new puppy. Puppies bring so much fun and joy and love into our lives. And you'll no doubt be kept busy over the next couple of months running after your new furry toddler. Of course, adopting a puppy also comes with some responsibility, and those responsibilities include clearly communicating compassionately with your puppy how to behave appropriately in your new home and how to behave appropriately around people, how helping your puppy feel safe and cared for, and helping other people learn how to behave around your puppy because people, as you may notice, get a little crazy around puppies. So it's up to you to be an advocate for your puppy. So in this presentation, we are going to talk about the early development of your puppy from the time it's an itty bitty little newborn up until about 6 months of age. Of course, dogs continue to develop throughout their lives and they'll change throughout their lives. But that would be a much longer conversation, and my hope here is to just help you get through this really critical developmental period and understand what your puppy is going through developmentally and how to best help your puppy learn during this time. A lot happens before you even meet your puppy. So whether you got your puppy from a breeder or whether you adopted your puppy from a shelter or it was rehomed from another family, a lot of development has gone on in this little puppy brain before the puppy even comes to you. Mama dogs have a gestation period of approximately 63 days, so just over 2 months. Wouldn't it be fabulous if that were the case for humans? But those 2 months are really critical in terms of puppy development. And the mother's environment plays a big role in the development of the puppy's nervous system. So if mom is in a stressful environment or if she's malnourished, those puppies, while they're in utero, may be flooded with stress hormones, and that can have an impact on how their little brains develop. Of course, the mom's also very important, as is the dad, in terms of the genetics that contribute to the dog's temperament or personality. So there are a number of aspects of your puppy's disposition, quite frankly, that you're not going to have any control over. But of course you know and have heard that behavior is the product of both nature and nurture. So you can certainly influence those predispositions. Now, very early when the puppy's first born, mama and the litter mates have the most influence over that puppy's development. When a puppy is born, they are both blind and deaf because their eyes are closed and their ear canals are closed. But they do come out with the sense of touch and the sense of taste. So those are their primary senses for the first couple of weeks of their lives. And for that reason, some gentle handling can really help puppies get used to that idea of human touch right from the start. Now, of course, mama's got to allow this. Some moms are very protective, so you want to be sure to give mom a few days with the puppies before you start to approach her and her babies. You also want to give those little itty bitty puppies some different surfaces to explore as they lay and then eventually start to wiggle around. Different textures of floor and blankets and things like that in their nest can be very helpful. During these early weeks as well, they're not able to move their bladder or their bowels on their own, so their moms stimulate them in order to be able to go to the bathroom. Then they enter a little transition period where their eyes begin to open and their ear canals open, so they start to see. Things are a little blurry, but they start to see and hear sounds. And so they're beginning to experience the world a little bit more fully at this point. They're going to begin to crawl and might even start to try to get those muscles that they use to stand and walk going. It's pretty funny to see little swimmer puppies or drunk puppies trying to get around. They may also begin to start to show interest in some soft solid food in addition to their mother's milk. So if you got a puppy from a breeder or from a shelter where they were fostered really little, this may have been the time they started to get introduced to some food. They may also start to void on their own, empty their bladders and their bowels without their mom's assistance. However, they certainly don't have any control over that at this point, and so they are quite messy little creatures. From about 3 to 5 weeks is when puppies start to be a little bit more like puppies. They're going to start getting their little baby teeth or their milk teeth in so that they can better consume solid food. They will still be nursing though at this point, but their caloric intake will likely need to increase. They will begin, certainly by this point, to eliminate their bowels and their bladder on their own, but again, they're still not in control. This isn't the time to start house training them. They'll start to get curious and to explore. Their vision is becoming clearer, they're hearing better, they're smelling, they're moving around more, and so you're going to find they're little explorers at this point. And they'll also start developing social behaviors with their litter mates and with their mom, and they're learning a lot through play. They're learning how to interact, how to explore with their mouths. They're learning a little bit about how their fellow canines are going to communicate with them. It's also important that they experience humans and other animals during this point, especially if other animals are going to be a part of their lives. At this point, when we socialize puppies, we want to do a lot of regular handling with them. So touching their paws and their ears and their bellies and lifting their tails gently, just so that they get used to all of the types of handling that they'll be subject to throughout their lives. Then comes a really critical time in puppies' lives, and this is usually right before most puppies go on to their homes, and it's the peak socialization period. This is when they are most impressionable in terms of their socialization to humans, to other dogs, to new objects and textures and sounds. So we really want to very carefully, safely, gently expose puppies to as much as we can during this time. Men and women and children and dogs and cats and rain and sunshine and everything we can, but we want to keep it all safe and fun. Puppies are still figuring out what is okay in the world, certainly at this point. So we don't want them to develop a fear response to anything. Critically, they really need to be handled by humans between 5 and 7 weeks of age. So it's very important that whether, again, your dog came from a breeder or from a shelter, that they had interaction with humans during this time. It's not to say that they can't be socialized to humans after 7 or 8 weeks of age. It just means that they're going to be a little bit more tentative and timid about it. So, even though I just said that they can be a little bit sensitive at this stage, around 8 weeks to 10 weeks is a really good time to rehome a puppy, ideally on the earlier end of that, because puppies are looking for safety and security at that stage, around 8 weeks. It's important that they form a bond with their new family. And so that's why many breeders and many shelters will rehome a puppy around 8 to 9 weeks of age. So now your puppy comes into your home. And this is where you come in. So around 8 to 9 weeks, If they haven't already begun to be house trained, you need to get right on that. They are learning what it feels like to go to the bathroom, and you may start to see them sniff around a little bit or walk in a circle. And this shows you that they're starting to get used to that feeling that happens when they know they have to go to the bathroom. And so this is a good time to start house training. It's also really important that you begin training during this time because they are developing the capacity to learn. And so getting some basic cues installed in them and helping them learn what is acceptable and what is not. So jumping on people, mouthing, things like that that you may not want them to do, you want to be laying the foundation for that right now. But again, they are sensitive during this time. So you need to avoid any harsh corrections, any shouting, anything that might be an intensely negative experience because you don't want to have to undo that later. Keep everything safe and fun. Associate new experiences with good things like treats or petting or play. That's how you want to teach your puppies during this critical time. You will note that around 12 weeks or 3 months of age, they're going to begin to teeth. So their gums will be sore and they'll be looking to soothe those by gnawing on things. And hopefully you will have a plan in place due to our work together to keep that thing that they gnaw on from being your arm or your ankle. Teething will begin to decrease around 16 weeks of age and their teeth will begin to fall out. So don't be surprised if you find little baby teeth in their bowls or around the house. It's important that they have the opportunity to explore novel environments during the 10 to 12 week age. Again, they're pretty susceptible, they're pretty amenable to new experiences. You'll note the gap there from 12 to 16 weeks, and we'll get to that in a minute. But then again, when they're about 4 to 5 months, they have a good window for exploring new places. So there's that 12 to 16 week gap, which is when puppies might experience what we call their first fear period. And this is a period in their development when they are hypersensitive to aversive stimuli or to negative events or potentially fear-inducing events. So for example, thunderstorms or fireworks or the sound of trucks or rain falling on their little coats. So you want to make conscious efforts to have anything that has to happen to them, ideally not happen during this month, but if it needs to happen during this time, make sure to pair it with a really positive, fun experience. So thunder predicts a spoonful of peanut butter, or their favorite toy starts to squeak after the thunder sounds. So we want to make sure that we don't leave fearful experiences to make an impression on them. I mentioned that they would begin to lose their baby teeth during the last period, and by about 6 months of age, they should have all of their adult teeth in. So just be prepared from about 4 to 6 months for a lot of chewing and have appropriate objects available for them to chew and redirect them to those objects when they do get mouthy. During this juvenile period, which some people also call the ranking period, they are establishing their social relationships with other dogs, and those relationships are becoming more stable. So if you have another dog in the household, you may notice from about 4 to 6 months that your puppy's kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit and seeing what the other dog will put up with or not. And so they're just testing their status, if you will. And I don't use that word to encourage you to think about dominance. But there are social hierarchies in every society, including canine societies. And so they're going to learn about respecting their elders or more confident dogs during this time. They're also going to become more coordinated, so their motor capacities are going to increase. They're going to become more active and agile. You're going to need to provide continued training during this period. So after that first puppy class is not the time to quit training. You need to continue to stimulate them both mentally and physically so that they continue to learn and the lessons that you want become concrete in their minds. And of course, they are going to reach sexual maturity by 6 months of age. And that leads to the whole discussion of when to spay or neuter your pet, and that is a great discussion to have with your veterinarian because there are lots of different things to take into consideration. But just be prepared for some of the behavioral changes that may come with sexual maturity. So certainly male dogs may begin to posture a little bit more with other intact males. They may go looking for females a little bit more and get a little bit more crazy when intact females are around. Your female puppy may go into heat as early as 6 months, or she may not. Every individual is just that, an individual. So talk with your vet about the best way to handle the spay or neuter process with your puppy. After 6 months of age, puppies are considered adolescents. So from about 6 months to 18 months of age, they're going to go through an adolescent period in which they can become a little bit difficult, no doubt. And you may think that all of the training you've done for the last couple of months has fallen on deaf ears, but it hasn't. They're just doing the typical teenage thing and asserting a little bit of their independence and trying to figure out what they can and can't get away with during the adolescent time. So again, you need to continue to work with your puppy during that time and make sure that you keep your relationship with your puppy really solid during adolescence. We're not going to get into all of that in this presentation. That's for another day. But I did want to leave you with some references that I incorporated into this presentation and some resources that may help you as you try to better understand your puppy development. So after you watch this, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or post on the Facebook page. Until next time, take care.